Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawm ad-din wa ba'd. Alhamdulillah, we'd like to welcome you all to tonight's rendition of the Black Imams Roundtable. Alhamdulillah, I'm Imam Faheem. I'm serving as the host, and I got my brother, the co-host with the co-most, Imam Naeem, mashallah. And so we're about to get started. We for all those who are joining in, we send salams to you, welcome you. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Alhamdulillah, we appreciate your presence. We appreciate your contributions, and we appreciate the dialogue and the back and forth, and we appreciate your support. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this a sincere gathering and to give us immense benefit from it. Amin, alhamdulillah. Inshallah, everyone is doing well. Everyone's having a good week. We haven't hit the hump day yet, so we're getting there, mashallah. All right, so we'll get right to it, inshallah. Tonight's topic is the importance of dawah in our communities. What is the importance of dawah in our communities? So I'll just go ahead. I just started the intro, so I'm bringing Imam Naeem out. So he's going to go ahead and get started, inshallah. You thought I was going to keep going. You thought you had some time to get the verse together.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa afdalu salat wa atamu tasneem ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. ورضي الله تعالى عن السادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, Alhamdulillah. Dawah. Why is dawah urgently needed? Before I get into it, at least for my introductory remarks, I want to make it clear that, in my opinion, wait a minute, even before I say that, everyone please share the video and like it. Please share. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video, hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel, Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City. If you're watching on Facebook, like the video and share it on your wall, share it on your platforms. Let the people know that we're here so they can get some of this beneficial information, and so that you can also be included in the chain of this benefit. Because if you help and facilitate that which is good, you will have a share in the reward. Alhamdulillah. And so I was saying that, in my opinion, when most people talk about dawah, they usually have in their mind, like what we call in English proselytizing, where, we go to people and we say, hey, have you thought about Islam? Let me teach you about Islam. Here's these pamphlets right here. Let me tell you about Allah. Let me tell you about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let me give you some information. Let me dialogue with you, and with the intent or with the purpose or with the hopes that you will become Muslim. And I think, of course, that has its place. But in my mind, when I think about dawah or when I speak about dawah, I'm normally talking about non-Muslims interacting with Muslims on a regular basis. Because when you look at how Islam spread, for the most part, in all of these places that we now recognize as being Muslim countries, or at least have a high percentage of Muslims. If you look and examine how Islam reached those people and how it got settled amongst those people, you see it was because they interacted with the Muslims. It wasn't like a lot of anti-Muslims say that Islam was spread by the sword. And I just give you one example of how history is twisted, to give the false impression that Islam came to a people with force. If you look at, for example, Egypt and North Africa, just as one example, when non-Muslims or ill-informed Muslims tell the story about the so-called Arab conquest, when they're talking about the so-called Arab conquest, they're talking about the Sahaba and the Tabi'een. They're talking about the companions of the Prophet ﷺ and those younger or newer Muslims who were with them when they entered North Africa. And they tell a story of how the Muslims fought, and then they got control of Egypt, and then they spread west. They got, what we now know as Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania, Tunis, and all of North Africa, the Mediterranean coast. And so they tell a story, and if you don't know history and if you don't know geography, you would think that these Arab Muslims came and was fighting with the common people, and they conquered them, and they, set up shop, and that's why those countries are Muslim to this present day. What they fail to mention is that prior to the Arabs coming there, they were already conquered by someone else. They were conquered by the Europeans, the Romans, who later rebranded themselves or were rebranded by others as Byzantines or the Byzantiums, right? The eastern part of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire broke, and you had the eastern and the western part. And the eastern part of the Roman Empire, when you look in books now, they call it Byzantium or the Byzantine Empire. But during that time, by them and others, they were known as the Romans. And Allah refers to them as Romans in the Quran. Ghulibatul Rum. The Romans have been defeated, chapter 30, right? So the part that they're leaving out of this history is that when the Arabs or the Muslims came, they were fighting these Romans for the most part. And they kicked them out. And they took control of the government. The common people living there, because of Islam's governmental system, is not exploitive, is not oppressive. And so they were seen as liberators, literally. And so naturally they're there, they're setting up masjids for themselves and everything like this. And now the people is observing these Muslims, how they interact, how they do business, how they governing, and all of these things. And they voluntarily entered Islam. That's the true Islamic narrative. From many other places as well. I'm just using Egypt and the rest of North Africa as an example. And so you see that if you look at that example, you see that the common people interacting with the Muslims led to the spread of Islam and them entering Islam, so to such an extent that 1,300, 1,400 years later, these people are still Muslim. And not only that, but the Sahaba have a unique barakat with them, that every place that they established Islam at, not only are those places Muslim countries or lands, but the Arabic language became the lingua franca as well. So not only Islam, but also the Arabic language. That's one of the barakah of the Sahaba. And so you can go all around the place and the globe and see that for the most part, and there's always going to be exceptions, but for the most part, when people became Muslim it was because they interacted with the Muslims. They seen their good Islamic character, or either they were traders, they were business people, and when they came and traded, they seen how they had integrity. And so, you know, that when, especially in a marketplace where people's lying and cheating and deceiving, and then you have these strange people with this belief that we're not familiar with, and they're doing business with us, and when we, you know, get our product back home, we are pleased with it, and you know, these people are, you know, they give us good prices and all of these things that you don't find in normal, when you normally do business with people. The Muslims stand out. They're different. They have a different code, right? And so I'm saying that to say that, so with that, just one example of many, when I talk about, or when I think about dawah, I'm thinking about ways that Muslims can interact with non-Muslims, not necessarily proselytizing or preaching, but just interacting with us. And because a lot of us don't want to be preached to, right? And so when at least in our community, when we're talking about dawah, yes, we may have Islamic information and pamphlets. That may be the case, but I'm really thinking about ways in which we can serve the people. A lot of times when we have our masjids in our communities, we set it up so that, you know, we teach classes, we have Juma of their services. Maybe it's just for us, but we have to, in my opinion, find ways to not only expand our services, but also make our services available to the non-Muslims around us. So if we're feeding people, we need to make it so that the non-Muslims in the area can come and eat. If we having clothing drives or any other way, I think we have to find not only the traditional ways like soup kitchen, clothing drives, and feeding people and food pantries. All of that's good, and I think we should do it. But I think we have to kind of like expand our thinking and find unique ways to be of benefit to the people, regardless if they're Muslim or not Muslim. And I think the dawah will give itself. And we have to do that on our platform, because a lot of times we try to join in with other people on their platform, meaning non-Muslims on their platform. And a lot of times for us to get involved is always, you know, we have to compromise, or they're going to do this, or they're going to begin with a prayer, and or you know, if the men and women going to be holding hands, or it's going to be food going to be served, the food not going to be halal. It's all these kind of stuff. So I think we have to come in with the upper hand, not the lower hand. In other words, not as recipients, but givers. We have to be providing the services. We have to provide the benefits, and we're doing it on our terms and our platform and our space. So we set the terms of how to do it, and the people that benefit, you know, they don't have to be Muslim, but they're going to be around us. They're going to be interacting with us. And I think if we do this consistently, that in and of itself is dawah. So when I'm thinking about dawah, this is what I'm thinking about, inshallah. And so those are my opening comments. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khairan, Imam, alhamdulillah. All right, so inshallah, I'll get started. First, before we get started, let's make sure we cover that cover fee. You see the link in the comment section. Can we run the link across? You know, we asked for at least a minimum $10, and we got a bunch of superstars on here. You know, there's y'all at least 3 to 1 favorites. You know what I mean? Pay for yourself and 2 other people, or 5 other people, or 10 other people. You know, because that's how the odds stack up with you guys. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It takes at least 3 to make 1 of y'all. You know what I mean? So, and that's why we appreciate you. That's why we love you. Alhamdulillah. All right. So this topic of why is dawah so important in our communities, and just my experience, I like to share. Our dawah now is basically on 2 fronts. As Imam Naeem mentioned, you know, we usually consider dawah as, you know, calling non-Muslims to Islam. And that is very important because we are out trying to call people to the truth. And but there's 2 fronts on the da'wah that we're faced with in our communities. One is calling our people who are non-Muslims, you know, and not excluding others, but concentrating on where we're from in our communities. We're talking about black folks, calling to Islam. And, the ayat that we read in Surah Yusuf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet to say, Kul hadihi sabili, ad'u ilallah ala basira. He said, say, this is my way, and I call to Allah upon basira, upon having insight and vision and clear stuff. So when we're calling our people to Islam, it's just like a lot of stuff that Imam Naeem mentioned. A lot of people don't want to be preached to. A lot of people don't know that, Islam is religion based on the worship of God Almighty. A lot of them times they don't understand what we believe, and they still, even to this day, as widespread as Islam is, a lot of people still associate us with the Nation of Islam. They still associate with some draconian practices sometimes and all that kind of stuff, when the basic of Islam is to give your duty and your glory, honor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to use that basira when we are talking to our people, and a lot of it is not just preaching. A lot of it is really knowing where they are, knowing their needs, knowing how we can service them, engaging them, being nice to them, having exceptional mannerisms, But when we do talk about knowledge, there are certain people who are equipped to do it, and there are people who are not equipped to do it. And there are some people who absolutely should not be doing it, as far as the knowledge part. You know what I mean? And there are people who need to be stepping up, which would include all of us, to make sure that we are engaging people in the right way and servicing them and doing all of these programs in our community. So, alhamdulillah, I know for myself, Imam Naeem's community, Imam Amin's community, we do a lot of these outreach programs. We do a lot of feeding. We do a lot of, working with grassroots operations, and not all the time that, people come out of it and, they accept Islam, but they at least have a healthy respect for us and they're looking for us. And then in time, inshallah, as they see good akhlaq from us, of course, we're going to be talking about Islamic principles, so inshallah to grow. So that's on one perspective, giving dawah to, our people who are non-Muslims. We're talking about our people, meaning black people. And now the other part of da'wah that we are faced with is giving da'wah to Muslims again. Giving da'wah to Muslims again who've been bombarded with this bamboozlement, in the name of true, in the name of, under the guise of supposedly true Islam. Because now we got to go back and, we got to reprogram a lot of people. We got to, reteach a lot of people, and we got to be gentle with a lot of people and knowing what level they're on and what understanding that they have. Because I don't know how many of you here, had that experience in the mid 90s or early 90s, mid 90s, when the Salafi movement started to take off really big, especially on the East Coast, and everywhere you went, it was, it was da'wah to Salafiyya and return to the Quran and the Sunnah, and everything had to have an authentic proof, and everything, had to be referred back to Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And, people who didn't even know Arabic were required to provide proof for their statements, and in that environment, it caused a lot of disunity. I mean, I've seen myself firsthand, families being split up, husband and wives divorced, children being abandoned, all because somebody's minhaj wasn't, as they used to say, their minhaj wasn't 6 o'clock. Other words meaning straight up and down, and all this kind of nonsense that we've seen, particularly in the Philly, South Jersey, Delaware area. It's harmed a lot of people, and a lot of people have been scarred from it, and so many Muslims are displaced because of that movement. They hook, line, and sinker, and then, they got hooked in and they followed it to the nail, and then they found out that the leaders abused them, used them for money, lied to them, were caught up in scandals, were charlatans, were, all this kind of stuff. And then on top of that, for the people who really studied and read further than those glossy books, they found out that it was just an old movement of the Wahhabis, just renamed. And what it's done now is that a lot of people, and we had the discussion, a lot of people are not humble enough to just admit that they've been fooled, especially people who came to the Salafi movement after coming from other movements, coming from the Nation of Islam and, the Darul Islam movement, all those kind of things. And, the Salafi dawah was supposed to be like the last stop, that this was it. This is the final frontier. This is it. We got the Quran. You got people who went overseas and they spoke Arabic and they had connections with the scholars and they dressed like Muslims and they wore beards and the women were wearing all black and there was a big party and everybody was on true and there was no bid'ah, there was no shirk, there was no wrongdoing, and it was all a facade. It was all a facade, And I'm still seeing the effects of this harm for many Muslims that I've known over the years, who just kind of like disappeared into oblivion. Muslims who were good, they were praying, they were strong, they were committed to the community. Now they don't, it's going to be hard for them to trust again. And that's the effect of cults, So now trying to help people get along with that is another kind of da'wah that at least we're engaged in on this part. And it's all the way from the belief, to what scholarship is, who's a scholar, where true scholarship comes from, how do you understand fiqh rulings, so many things that when that movement came along, that people thought it was just clean cut, okay, Allah says this, His Prophet ﷺ said this, that's it, and it messed up a whole bunch of people. It messed up, and I would say it messed up an entire generation. It messed up an entire generation of people, man, and only the ones whom Allah has favored was able to escape that. And now we are seeing people who are still, like in our area, we are right down the street from one of the hardcore Salafi masjids, that is still holding on to that, that shallow da'wah, that, the Wahhabi hardcore stuff, you know what I mean? And we get a lot of people who are just absolutely displaced, who would have been otherwise good Muslims. Now they're scared. They don't know where to go. They don't really want to commit themselves fully because they think, they don't know what to trust. Some of them are real hardcore. They just think we innovators and that kind of stuff, and so they just, they stuck though. Like where they go at, they don't really have no connection and they're scared to reach out to anybody else. And just basic stuff that used to be a given with respect to Islamic Brotherhood back in the day. Like you didn't worry about where a Muslim was, you didn't question him about his Aqidah. It was just, if you gave the salams, that like did something to your heart. It didn't matter who he was or even what state he was in. When you saw a Muslim and you said assalamu alaikum, that like meant the whole world. Like, okay, that just changed your whole energy. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, okay, you get salams and then everything is going good until somebody says, what masjid do you attend? Or you mention certain personalities or, or there's nonsense, you know what I'm saying? And it has corrupted a lot of people. And so we have a da'wah on that front. And part of it, what we're doing now is when we address some of these things that many people tell us that, we really shouldn't be talking about, why they keep talking about Aqidah, why they keep pressing this issue, because it has damaged a lot. It's damaged a lot of people. And then now looking back, a lot of those people, I was talking to an old head nation guy one time, man. And he said something. He said, you know what? It wasn't really the doctrine that got those people. It wasn't, and for some of them, he said it wasn't the doctrine. It's just that they had a sense of, brotherhood. They had a sense of belonging. And that's why a lot of people were just tooth and nail. And it has a structure and organization that they went right along with. And a lot of them didn't really know some of the deep doctrine, except for the, in all those groups, you had the people who are awam, and then you had the, the elite, and then you had the secret group. You had the group, and then you have a secret group, and then you had the two people who are vying for leadership, all that cult, all of those structures of a cult. You know what I mean? So he said, it wasn't really the doctrine. And I'm saying that to say a lot of people who have followed that Salafi movement really don't even really know the doctrine. Don't know the doctrine. And that's something that we have to keep in mind when we embrace the general folk from among them. Because some of them, I see them, they are struggling with their Islam. I've seen a number of cases of apostasy, something that, you hardly ever saw in Islam. You know, you always saw, you know, even back in the day, you even saw Muslims that even if they were, you know, caught up in, you know, whatever sin they was involved in, you didn't really know about it. You know, it was Muslims that you found out you never even know that they were involved in this kind of stuff because they hid it so well. And now you got people who are just openly, you know, happy to be that they left Islam. You have people who are happy with sins, you know, openly. You know, you have a lot of destruction as a result of that movement. And since it's concentrated in this area where we live, we have to, you know, take that responsibility of giving dawah back to those people. And part of it, a big part of it is knowledge, and a big part of it is caring. A big part of it is really caring for Muslims. And sometimes, you know, when you engage some of those people, you have to really, really know how to engage them. Some of them, you can kind of tell, you know, and I mean, I just know because being a part of the movement, I know I can see clear signs. You know, you could tell the one when they come in your masjid and, you know, they looking around, you know, looking like if something's going to jump out the sky, or they come in and they, you know, they don't want to, they don't take the shoes off, or they're looking at your bookshelf like, you know, the only thing that's missing is a magnifying glass. You know, like, what do you know? So you see him, he's like, you want to say, like, man, what the hell are you looking for, man? If there's something you need help with, just ask, you know? Or if you felt something that was wrong, just, you know, say it. You know, if you felt like, you know what I mean? So they're coming, or you get the ones they'd be standing frozen, like, you know, they don't know how to move in the masjid. Like you don't know that you're supposed to make 2 rakats. Like, you didn't know that, bro? You know what I mean? The basic Muslim knows that, you know what I mean? But, you know, they don't know, you know, praying behind the demon is good. Their prayer going to be accepted, all that nonsense. Then you got the ones who generally just don't know. They just been exposed to some of that stuff, and they've been deprived of something else. And they are good Muslims. You know, you have to keep an ear out and look for certain signs. Are they hungry? Do they ask the right questions? Are they stand-up people? You know, then you got people who go back and forth. You know, they're with you when they're with in private, you know, yeah, I'm with you, bro. I got your back. And they go down, they got the other person back. And then you will never see them, you know, stand on one side or the other, you know what I mean, in public. You know, or you got some in private, you know, they with you, but in public, you know, you can forget it, you know. So, and that's all good, but it's all a result of this movement that has been put on us, and, you know, under the guise of following the correct deen, you know. And so we gotta do a lot of work, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot more of us, not just the imams, but people who know basically what their forward iron is and know how to articulate what the beliefs are, and know how to do it in a gentle way with basira, you know, with insight, you know, just like Imam Amin was talking about this in the post, I think it was post-Fajr reflections or the scattered thoughts. I mean, he got so much stuff, man. I don't know. I told him this you know, this need to be the pre-duha reflections. This joint be a duha time, man. So whatever one it was, he was talking about it today, about how, you know, we need to really know how to articulate our deen when we're giving da'wah to both Muslims and non-Muslims, you know, and particularly with non-Muslims, knowing how to express ourselves, knowing how to, you know, teach our religion. And then with the Muslims, we need to be gentle with them and kind of know some of the signs we should look for in people who have been scarred, people who have been mistreated, people who have been broken. SubhanAllah, I got an inbox from a sister the other day, and she just kind of basically talked to me about some of the experiences that she had, you know, and she was talking about her journey from being Salafi, and then having some exposure to Ahl Sunnah, and then experiencing some of that racism that we talk about, you know, where she didn't feel like part of being the Muslims, and then some other things. And it just so happened that this topic, it was the topic of discussion, because those are people who need our help, that they, you know, and they know they love Islam and they know deen. They just need some, you know, someone to help them along. And that's part of the da'wah that we have to do with our people, because you know, nobody else cares. Nobody else cares about us, man. I mean, people have been showing us time and time again that they do not care about us as Black folks in America. And then it's as we become Muslims, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rescue us from kufr, and it is also a redemption from being people who came over here as slaves, and people. Then it's like a double whammy. You know what I mean? People not caring about us. You know what I mean? So we really got to care about each other, and we all have an obligation, I believe, to give da'wah to each other, mostly with our actions, with each other, being kind, being extending ourselves, being charitable, being proactive, being outgoing, inconveniencing ourselves for our brothers and sisters, because a lot of us need healing. A lot of us are broken. A lot of us are displaced. A lot of us we're going through some things. And we mention all the time that this Black Imams Roundtable, we try to make it as an outlet, as a platform that we talk about us, and not at the exclusion of anybody else. Because anybody else wants to come, we're not going to say, "Oh, you're not Black, you can't come to the Black Imams Roundtable." You know what I mean? But we are concentrating on our people. We are concentrating on our people, and that's right in line with the Anbiya. They all went to their people first, calling their people to Islam. Pointing out some of the errors that their people made, and then showing them what way they needed to go. And that's the kind of tradition that we have to carry. That's the prophetic tradition. We call to our people. We got to highlight some of the things that we went wrong, and us as imams and people who also capable, not just imams, professionals, therapists, educators, business people, teachers. If you work on a garbage truck, you have a duty to show some type of healing to somebody, especially if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed you an opening, and we all got a part to play. But that's my take on as far as da'wah. We got a whole thing we got to, reprogram with Muslims, and then we got a whole effort, to give more da'wah to non-Muslims, because Islam is, it's been one of the weird things is, as long as Islam has been here, people are still not sure what Islam is in some instances, and that's a strike against us as Muslims for not being proactive in da'wah. And in some cases, we have Muslims. I'm not going to really say us, because we Black people, we wear everything on our sleeve, man. We just take pride. If we get it, then it starts trending on Twitter. You know what I mean? If we run with it, then it starts trending on Twitter, and then somebody makes $1 billion off of it, except us. But yeah, there are other people who take the Islam, but then they're scared, and that's one issue that we don't have, but we have to learn how to, really, harness the beautiful energy of Islam and take it to people and show them, if we're not able to articulate, show them how has it impacted our lives. One of the things that I always used to like to, especially when a new person takes Shahada, I try to give them the essence of what Islam is, like when, if they come across their families and, they might be reluctant to let their families know that they're Muslim, or they might be facing some kind of opposition, or some type of resistance from their family. So one of the things that I like to tell them is that once your family sees what Islam has done for you as far as changing your life, then that's going to be a big impact on them. That's going to be a big impact on them. You know what I mean? They might not know about Islam. They might not even care about knowing about Islam, but they know that Johnny got off them streets and got off those drugs, and now he's clean, he's praying, he smelled good, you know what I mean? He's doing some things, and he's talking about getting married, with a 5K dowry. So that boy saved up $5,000. So so that goes a long way as da'wah too. So those are the two fronts that we are attacking, inshallah. And I believe that all of us, whether we're imams or not, have a part to play in promoting that kind of da'wah. One of our behaviors and our mannerisms and our treatments and our engagements. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ad-din al-alamat," that the deen is transactions. It's dealing with each other. The deen is dealing with each other, doing transactions with people, engaging with people, taking on some of their concerns, listening to their concerns, and try to find a way to help them out of their situations, and help bring them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, so that was my take on it. You got anything, Imam Naeem?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you highlighted the fact that our dawah, has like at least two prongs to it. Like not only the non-Muslims, but there's a whole large section of us that are coming from Wahhabism, and they need to be given dawah to as well, right? I think it's some people may not even think about that, even because in our mind we're like, okay, they're already Muslim, but there's a big question mark there. A lot of them have some weird out beliefs, right? But the deep thing like that you also mentioned, like you mentioned how a lot of people join these groups not because necessarily the doctrine, but the sense of brotherhood that they saw as an outsider. And a lot of times they leave because they recognize after they got in it that it wasn't really no brotherhood. It just looked like it on the outside. And I think that's real important because, in a lot of cities, one of the other things that we are also afflicted with is Muslims in gangs, right? And if you talk to them, they saying the same thing. They felt like, they ain't have no family. And this could be a child from a Muslim family, a Masjid, a community. They didn't feel no sense of family there, but they found a sense of family in the gang. And so I think this is like a proof against us, because people are finding in gangs and pseudo-Islamic movements those things which are supposed to be part of Islam. You're supposed to feel like a family. Innamal mu'minuna ikhwa. Only the believers are brothers. We're supposed to be family, right? But in our environments, it's other than that. And so a lot of people, almost everybody that I've ever heard, talk about why they're not Muslim no more, or why they're Muslim but they stay away from the Muslim, is because of the way they were treated. Like you said, not doctrine. Like you were talking like the Nation of Islam, but even like people who become Muslims proper, who are no longer interacting with Muslims or identifying as Muslims, is not because of doctrine. It's because of the way they were treated. And I think, subhanAllah, when I first took Shahada, we had a brother, he had a dab class, adab class, teaching you how to act. And a lot of times, I don't know, well, I do know where a lot of it came from. A lot of times we think as long as we write and, the information that's coming out of our mouths is true, that it don't matter how we act. And that's not the case. How we act is just as important as what comes out of our mouths. And so a lot of us, our character stinks, but because we're part of this group or because we're saying X, Y, and Z, then we think that, our affiliation it excuses the way we act. It's so bad that even amongst Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat now, you have people who claim to be Sufi, right? They claim to follow a tariqah. And you find when they join the tariqah that they become arrogant, that they become elitist in all of these things. And subhanAllah, following a sheikh or joining a tariqah is supposed to facilitate against you fighting against kibra, arrogance. How you join a tariqah and become arrogant? The whole thing is supposed to stop you from being arrogant and having conceit and all of these things. And so you find that in our environments, even in Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat, it's not a family vibe, And so, and it's for many reasons. And this is why a lot of people find what we do in a breath of fresh air, because they feel like it's family. They can be themselves. They don't have to pretend to be someone else, right? And so we have to expand on this, and we have to, take it all around, because it's not just three of us, it's all of us. All of us here, that's part of our family. We all family, and all of us have a job. Putting out proper Islamic information, that's only one part of the job. We have infrastructures to build. You know, Issa's always talking about counseling. We need counselors, therapists, and all of that. A lot of them. You know, and we all have to be plugged in, and we all have a job to do and a role to play. So it's not just 3 imams. And some people, no. It's all of us. All of us have a job and a role to play in giving this dawah. Some of us have a better mouthpiece than others. Like some of us, we know how to give Islamic information, but we don't know how to put it in a way that the dude on the street or the common person that don't have any Islamic training can understand. But you may be good at that. I may not be good at that, but you may be good at that. And so you have a job to do. So all of us have a job to do, everyone. And we have to play that role. And we can't downplay the role of good character and treating people right, the role that plays in that. A person may come to one of our programs or one of our masajid, and they may bump into you. And after bumping into you, will they come back to the masjid again, or will they use you as an excuse for why they don't go to the masjid anymore? And so we all have to think like that. We all have to think like that. We all have to be be ourselves, but be the best that we can be. Alhamdulillah.
No, alhamdulillah, that's very important. I think all of us, we should make a firm resolve that, every person that we come in contact with, that, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, a non-Muslim will have a healthy respect and a curiosity for Islam, or at least be like, okay, Abdullah and them is different, you know what I mean? And every Muslim, that we come across, we should leave them with a feeling that, they can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they feel like there's some hope for them after they engage us, you know what I mean? And that's something that we all have to do, because, in our communities, in our specific communities, African-American communities, we are being seriously marginalized, you know what I mean? And we're being, isolated, and we're being undermined seriously, you know what I mean? We've mentioned many times on this platform, and that, when you look about the face of Islam in America, ours are not ones that's seen, you know what I'm saying? And that's really like a smack in the face, because, it was Black people who really put their necks on the line, everywhere in the streets, in the prisons, everywhere, to make sure that Islam was uppermost in the land. And a lot of the, elder Muslims, the pioneer Muslims who came before us, put a lot of stuff in place for us that we're taking for granted today, and we got to keep that. We got to keep that legacy alive, for Islam, for us, because it is specific. Just like our situation is unique in America. Our Islamic experience is the same way as a microcosm of the Black experience in America. It's something that is very unique, and it's something that we have to really, we have to raise up and make it strong, because there are elements at work to trying to put us down. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of work with respect to dawah, and none of us should feel like, that we're not worthy of doing it. We mentioned plenty of times on this platform that, knowledge that something that you have an obligation to teach it. The Prophet of Islam, he said to relate from me, even if it's one verse. Relate from me if there's only one verse. If you know one hadith and you can act on it and you can perfect it and you can exemplify it, you know what I'm saying, then do that and let that be an example for somebody else, And some of the ways that we can do dawah is, go back to the old community stuff. I mean, nowadays we're so busy, we're working and trying to stay afloat. We can do little things. I mean, I'm pretty sure most of us are doing it, like taking care of your neighbors, checking on your neighbors, something like, sweeping up your neighbor's yard, taking out your neighbor's trash. You're going to the supermarket, knock on your neighbor's door. I'm headed to the supermarket. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I get you anything? Stuff like that, see if they need any kind of assistance. Do they have any relatives that are sick? Sometimes maybe leave a note on their doors. You know what I mean? All types of things you can do, and all of us can do some of that stuff. So wherever we are, wherever we're situated, let them know that, you know, those Muslims were special people, you know, and that's great dawah, you know what I'm saying? And that, yeah, that was one of the things, you know, Brother Muti put a comment there. I'm saying that I'm seeing that I remember being in the Salafi movement, people felt like they couldn't even talk a regular conversation unless they had to provide their proofs. You know what I'm saying? Like even now I see some of those people, they be scared to talk, you know, somebody be like, hey brother, how you doing? What's going on? Along this messenger. That's a given, bro. We Muslim. We in the masjid. What's going on with you, man? How are you, man? What's popping? You know what I mean? Don't give me those cliche responses. You know what I'm saying? Man, how you doing, man? That's not how we talk to each other. You know, that's not even how the Sahaba talk to each other. They didn't just walk around quote the Quran. They talk to each other. They crack jokes. You know, they said things, that hurt each other's feelings sometimes, you know, and that's how you do it. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, some part of the day, we're going to end up praying together, or we're going to end up trying to do some good deeds with each other, or directing somebody to a good deed, or preventing somebody from a harm. You know, in our community, we got to do that a lot. We always got to prevent some type of harm happening, you know, even if it's, you know, I mean, situations where we put hands on each other. You know what I mean? Nah, that's not going to go down, man. Nah, not here. You know, y'all going to sit down and talk it out, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, we'll go get something to eat or whatever, you know. But all of those things are part of the da'wah that, you know, will shape us in giving da'wah to other people and also giving da'wah to ourselves, you know. And then we come out as a united front, as people who are on the same accord. You know, we get into training as far as proper knowledge, proper etiquette, and proper application of the deen. And then, you know, we have an opportunity to change some of the, you know, situations that we're in as communities, you know, and all of us got to make sure we get back to playing our part in the community and going above and beyond what's expected of us. That's what makes a great community. Because you look at the motto of the Prophet ﷺ, the companions, all of them, you know, from the most known of them to the least known of them, all of them were ready, willing, and able to go above and beyond what was expected of them. You know, and you know, and we have a lot more to do in our times, you know, because of the situations that we're facing. We have a lot more to do. We got a lot more to expect. We got a lot more to put forth, inshallah ta'ala. You know, so inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we introduce to you, you know, the late band member, Otis Williams, in the distance.
I know you won't leave me, but I'm pleased to let you go. Assalamu alaikum, ikhwan. How y'all feeling?
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good, alhamdulillah.
Let the sunnah go forth and don't stop.
You still got one of them hoodies, huh?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. You know, I was listening to y'all. Excuse me, I was leaving the masjid and dropped my keys on the side of the car and didn't know where I put them. So it's spending all the time looking for my keys. So please forgive me for being late. But I guess if you add up all the time that I was late and combine all the time y'all late, I'm early, right?
No, don't even compare. We still got some latenesses on our jack. We got some credit.
Y'all want to take that question before I go in, Imam Malik? Because I want to follow some of your things y'all mentioned. I heard a lot of what y'all said, but maybe we can take some of those questions because they've been listening to y'all. So I don't want to take from that.
You want me to go, Imam Naeem, or?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
It says, do you think that Wahhabi doctrine has affected overall da'wah in our communities? Many non-Muslims saw their friends and family members receive abuse by people who practiced that da'wah and left a bad taste in many non-Muslim mouths because they saw what Wahhabism did to their families and see them still recovering from that stuff. Yes, absolutely has left a horrible effect on us. You know, I remember when I'll give you a story real quick. I remember when I used to go to Germantown Masjid. They call it Nabawiya now, but we still call it Germantown because it's in Germantown. Yeah. So I remember going up there one time, and there was we were all outside, and then there was like a commotion outside. And what happened was it was a strip club owner, and they were somehow I can't remember. It was a woman. No, it was a woman. Yeah, it was a woman. She had owned the strip club, and she came over there to Germantown, right? And she said that she was thinking about accepting Islam, but she said when she came over there to Germantown, she said that all of her major clients, she seen them outside the masjid. You know what I mean? She was like, and that one, this one, and like, started describing. So when I walked up, I was like ear hustling, like I was, trying to peep what was going on. So she was pointing people out, like, oh, that this one, like saying stuff like, oh, this one be stingy buying the drinks and, stuff like that, and it left a bad taste in the mouth. Now potentially that was someone who could accepted Islam and maybe turned their lives around and, maybe already had a business model, could, possibly turn around, make their money halal, you know what I'm saying, and be Muslim at the same time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would change their state for them. Now they just totally walked away just because of what they saw, that was, and this was over 20 years ago. So you can imagine now, what I mean, where it's okay to, it's okay to be in strip clubs and be at the bars, popping bottles and all that. Just long as you don't go to the masjids of Ahlul Bidah, that's better than that. This is the mentality that they've been, indoctrinated with. Yeah. So it's had a horrible impact, and I think now a lot of people who've come out of it, like myself, we didn't understand it to be Wahhabi doctrine. I know for myself, I thought, this was just ignorant niggas. I mean, I thought it was just like, it was just this is how niggas act. I mean, I know nigga behavior all day long, but then it was something deeper because I'm like, hold on, because everybody's not like this. Everybody, is not happy with sins or okay with this kind of stuff. So this is something else. It's something else. So I started, but yeah, definitely in your town, Imam Malik. Yes, it has hurt the legacy of Islam in Philadelphia, which has a rich legacy, a great legacy, one of the greatest legacies in America as far as Islam is concerned. And yes, it has crippled it, and part of the work especially in a city like Philadelphia is reprogramming and getting that old time Philadelphia brotherly love back. You know what I'm saying? Getting that old what's the group with Kenny Gamble? What was the name of the Philly International Records? Getting that classic soul sound back, man. That's what we're trying to do with Al Sunni, getting that classic soul sound back, man. Because y'all don't let the trap music dudes take over. You know what I mean? And take the soul out of Philadelphia. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
a trap manhaj.
Yeah, it's a trap manhaj, man. Like literally, the trap. Yeah, so subhanallah, and it goes without saying, now with that, the effects of that was now they got intramural kind of beefs with each other that people see this stuff and now they be like, okay, why can't all the Muslims just get along? They see this stuff and now it's turning people off even more, and them trying to come back and fix what these people have destroyed, but they're using the same doctrine. It's just cleaned up a little bit. It's not like how it was in the early 90s and mid 90s where everything was like a imtihan, like a inquisition, like an exam. It's not like that now, but it's still the same doctrine. You know what I'm saying? So, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring tawfiq to the city of Philadelphia, everywhere where this Wahhabi doctrine has crippled people. I mean.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجه الكريم. There's just briefly two things that I want to focus on this subject, right? Like, why is dawah an urgent need in our communities? And I was listening to Imam Faheem talking about how many people have been damaged by the Wahhabi Salafi doctrine. And while you was talking, and you was talking about the feeling you had, my mind, I never was a Wahhabi, alhamdulillah, right? But I was the same, I was Ansar. How about you like those apples? I was the same, I was an Ansar though. Same misguidance, just a different name, right? And we had the same thing way further than the Wahhabi Salafi movement. If you want to talk about structure and order and brotherhood and community building and living together, it was a whole nother level, right? And I know that feeling of when it all comes crumbling. And that's hurt. And when you said that, I was like, wow, that's deep. Sometimes you could be insensitive and you forget, right? Like, I'm on the huck, I'm all right, but you forget your people, what they're going through. And that's serious, right? Because even when we be having our classes, right, in the morning, I see people struggling with not the knowledge, but with their emotional attachment to the Wahhabi doctrine, right? Like, my whole life wasn't a waste, was it? That type of feeling. And no, it wasn't. And not everything in the Wahhabi way is wrong, right? But, you know, when you go to tell them your belief is wrong, your aqidah may reach the level of kufr, that does something to a person's spirit. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you're not conscious of that. I know at least I'm not. Sometimes I'm just so waging war on that doctrine to make sure that we don't get sucker punched again that I forget who's getting stomped while I'm trying to avoid a sucker punch, right? I do forget that. And like, that's something to really, really think about. You know what I mean? Because like, even that happens in Ahl Sunnah, as Imam Naeem indicated. When they become in a tariqah or they get under a specific sheikh, and you get the same thing, right? I told somebody this morning, one of our brothers, right, that comes to our classes, I won't put him out there who it was, right? But he's not African American. And I told him the racism among some Sunni groups is so bad that I'm personally don't hear nothing they got to say until they fix their racism, right? I don't care about your sheikh as long as he's a racist person. I don't care what he say, right? It doesn't matter to me what he's talking about. Until he fixes racism, I don't want to hear nothing from him. I go learn it from somebody else, right? And he was in a way not understanding that. I was like, that's not light. Don't pass that by. Because at the end of the day, even as Ahl Sunnah, what he's doing is going to have the same effect on my people, right? At the end of the day, okay, you got the correct aqidah, but you emotionally destroyed, you're inferior, you feel like a token Negro, the same concept. And I haven't recovered from a discussion I had with a person. When was that Philadelphia thing we did? How long ago was that?
For like 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. I haven't recovered from a discussion I had with one of our brothers, African Americans. He made me so angry. I wanted to choke him that this is 2001. You not a nigga. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. I was that angry with him. Like, and I haven't spoke to him yet since. And maybe the way I spoke to him, he probably don't want to speak to me no more again. But my whole thing is like, you're not a nigga. You're a man. But he's under people who are Ahlul Sunnah that got him tap dancing like just a nigger. I don't know however to say it. It was so disgusting to watch a black man raising black babies that's going to be in the community, a token nigger, right? I think you could feel how I felt. This 2 weeks ago, still this day when I think about it, I get angry. Like no pride, no dignity, no honor. And you got a bunch of Negroes like that all over the whole country. Some foreigner come in and treating them like Negroes, and they happy with it. Like Islam came to make you a slave to others. And I told the brother, I said, listen, man, let me tell you something, seriously. You're letting people come into your communities they're subjugated in their own lands. In their own lands, they're being treated like by other people, Israelis, other groups, treating them like nothing. And you're gonna let this weak people who can't even defend their own lands come in your neighborhood and treat you like a chump. Take all your wealth, build, use you like servants, and you standing there, but then you got the nerve to come to your people and act like you're a tyrant. To talk to your people in a manner of disrespect. To do everything to belittle your people. To me, this is disgusting, right? And I was thinking to myself, like, man, sometimes some of us need a good smack to wake up. Like, smack, pow, wake up. When I'm talking about in terms of dawah, we got to deal with that mentality. So let alone some people coming and trying to learn the doctrine, we're in a real bad spot that we've been taught that it's almost haram to be ourselves. And they told us that's Islam. People actually, even if they didn't say it, some of them say it. I mean, one of them dudes said to some black elders, I don't want to lose y'all to the blacks. Damn, man. Really? You had the guts to say that? I don't want to lose y'all to the blacks. What the hell is that? I mean, think of the mentality of that. Because they talking to us, I don't want to lose y'all to the blacks. And you got Negroes that's still with them. I mean, that somebody thinks like that, and it's obvious, and you still following them. But you want to come tell us about Islam? Really? I mean, I'm sorry but when I think about the struggles we have as a people, just to have dignity, that's not Islam. I was reading before I came here about the virtues of al-Habasha, the people of Ethiopia. Right? And the Sahaba who came from there and the dignity, right? And when the Prophet ﷺ sent the Sahaba to Ethiopia, they came to dignified people, and they weren't Muslim. They were Christians, but they were dignified people. When people come to us, they come to us like we don't count. And we allow that. So when we're talking dawah, that dawah is not going to reach these lions that we're facing in the street who are high out of their brains and killing each other. And I think you look in Philly, you look in all these cities, and you see what's going on in our communities. I was talking to one of our elder sisters today about all the stuff going on here. In the last 2 weeks, we had like 5 murders. Broad daylight on the avenue killing people. And when I went and talked to these young brothers. Most of them are Muslim. Wahhabi dudes. Been from the prison, learned that Wahhabi stuff. And I'm like, we got challenges, man. We can't come with a doctrine that don't make no sense, that is not us, and they living in these realities. And I know sometimes I don't, the words, we don't like to hear certain words, Negro and nigger, but this is realities that we face, and we can't act like they ain't real, right? I'm talking to these young brothers. One got some kind of vodka or something he's drinking. The other dude's rolling up some spike weed. These dudes is like gone. But guess what? They all stop and they listen to me. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, right? But they all out their brain, right? But they're willing, if someone's going to bring real da'wah to them, to listen. Now, the thing about it, are we going to stop acting like we from somewhere else and be with the realities that we know and go reach our people? Because we do know this stuff, because some of us were like that. And someone told me this. They called me about doing some initiatives of da'wah, really community work, but it's really da'wah. And they said something to me that I never thought about. And when I was talking to these young brothers, I saw what they were saying. They was like, the only way to get these kids and these misguided youth out of that is through Islam, because Islam is the only way that they can get out of it and maintain their honor and dignity and respect. You heard that? They can, look, I'm on my deen, and they'll be respected as long as they're doing that, right? Ox on his deen, we can leave him alone, right? And we're not even bringing them Islam, when that's their ticket out of a lot of that stuff, which was the ticket for a lot of people in the 60s and the 70s out of that rough life was Islam. When Islam was in full da'wah mode. But as long as we are under the influence of people who don't have our best interests at heart, we're never going to do that work. We're going to constantly be doing something that doesn't work, right? Because we're not doing what we have to do. So there is a need in da'wah for a da'wah that is for us, by us. That doesn't mean we don't care about others, but we need a fubu da'wah for us, by us. That's what we need. And as I say all the time to others, if we're going to be successful as a ummah, we have to care about every part of the ummah, right? So it can't be, this is the ummah, and don't worry about the blacks. La, the blacks are a part of the ummah. So therefore, what are their needs? What are their concerns? They're important. What do they need for their children to have a better environment? That's a part of it. Because everyone does it except us. Right? We don't have this concept of it's okay to work on our own behalf. If we work on our own behalf, it's like we're against someone else. And that's something we got to address as men. And that's something that as men we got to address, right? As men, we have to address that. So I think that is a major point of my da'wah. So when a guy come and tell me, let's forget these issues. Let's forget what you want to talk about. Let's talk about the issues that are pertinent to us. I don't want to talk about your issue that you want to dictate upon me. I want to talk about the issue that's pertinent to us, right? Not what's pertinent to you. What's pertinent to my people, right? Because if we're going to build anything, we have to be concerned about our conditions and what's happening. You go to Philadelphia, you go to Newark, you go here in Jersey, around the country, in the inner city, and any Muslim who sees the conditions of people in that environment, and a lot of them are Muslims or have Muslim friends or Muslim family, where's the effort to build that up? Where's the effort to change that environment? That's dawah. The Prophet ﷺ, he went to the worst of the people of his environment, right? And even when he went to the well-off, the elite, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded him about what? Amma yatasa'alun. I mean,
Abasa wa tawalla.
Abasa wa tawalla, excuse me, my mind, right? Abasa wa tawalla and ja'ahu al-a'ma, right? Yo, don't forget these people. That's a reminder for all of us, right? So in our mind, we got to have that concern. And I refuse to forget that, right? In order to be politically accepted, right? But there's another thing, and I got to say this to us, and I'll stop here with us. We got to put our money where our mouth is, seriously. Because to do the work we need to do, we have to be well financed. Really. It's nice cheerleading. At the end of the day, you know, if you can't put no money where your mouth is in this society, it's going to be very hard to be effective, right? Because these kids need jobs. They need constant mentoring. They need training. They need, you know, vocational skills. And we got to be the ones supplying those things. They can't go to others who only using their pain to build their comfort. They got to go to people who are just like them, who are from them, who look like them, who understand them, right? And they're actually building a new environment for them. So if I want to go to the trade school, I need to be in a school that's in the neighborhood, that's built by people who come from me, and they can relate to what I'm going through. That's what we need. As well as you're talking about businesses and all that. But that's going to take us to do that. No one's going to do that for us. And it may start small. It may start with this effort that we're doing, right? Because I'm telling you, one of the biggest barriers, and I'll stop. I don't know if I just went way off track, but this is my feeling, right? Too many of us are in survival mode individually, and we need to learn to join collectively to get us all out of survival mode. Individually, most of us are going to stay in survival mode. When we learn to love one another, learn to trust one another, learn to build, learn to see one get up. And then when that one get up, say, yo, now you got to help pull the next one up and pull the next one up, right? We can't be afraid to see somebody succeed, right? We can't. We can't have that mentality, as we say, crabs in the barrel. I got to see you. I want to see Imam Faheem's community successful. I want to see Imam Naeem successful. Even if I'm failing, they got to be successful. And when y'all get successful, make sure y'all pull me by the hand, right? And listen, the part of that is this. We got to be satisfied with the struggle is going to take, right? We have to be satisfied with that. Like, listen, we're going to suffer. Somebody going to sacrifice here. Somebody is going to sacrifice for the better of the whole. Somebody going to suffer. And we all can't be afraid to suffer. So, you know, that's my thoughts. I don't know if I was way off track, but that's how I feel. So I'm still angry from like 2 weeks. I'm trying to get it out of my head, but I can't.
It's a good anger. He's about to say something, man, Faheem?
Yeah. Let me see what I got here. Yeah, just a reminder. Can you see that? I mean, I'm a struggling imam, but I make sure I do my part. So y'all match me on that. Some of y'all double, triple that up because you got it. Put it forth for 2 or 3 people. You know what I mean? Let's get the pot jumping.
I was looking at Beverly Jones's comment or question. She said, where or who do we start when we go to the masjid and we're at the beginning and others are so far ahead? And I think, Imam, if I understand your question properly, right, I think Imam Amin just said it, for us, by us. You know, we have to be dealing with us. You know, a lot of times we want to be included. We want other people to accept us and then push our agenda or push what's going to benefit us. And we'll be, you know, what's that meme on Facebook where somebody's waiting for something and the person's a skeleton, right? You know, that's how long we're going to be waiting if we're waiting for other people to do it. You know, we're going to have to do this ourselves. And, you know, alhamdulillah, there's 3 established communities here represented by us. But some of you are in areas where what we talking about don't exist, and you have to build it. Don't look around, look for somebody else. No, the one you're looking at is in the mirror. It's you. You're going to have to do it. Even if you don't have the knowledge, you may be the organizational person. You may be the one that everyone listens to. Say, hey, listen, we need to get together. Did you hear what the Imam said on the Black Emails Roundtable? Listen, we having a meeting at my house at 6 o'clock, and you come, and you come, right? And you may have to be that person. You may not be the teacher, but you may be the person that bring everyone together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like, you know, we have, for example, you know, the brothers, and they're watching now, the brothers in Wichita, Kansas, they're doing it right now, what we talking about. They're starting from scratch. And, you know, I was thinking because a few weeks ago, Imam Amin, and he mentioned it on here too, but he was telling me about some of the things that came out in the study about the Muslim communities in the United States, and how basically we're regressing while everybody else is progressing, meaning Black Muslims are regressing. We're going back. We're not even being stagnant. We're going backwards. And all the other communities are going forward. And so, you know, it hit me, like, you know, because our community was inundated and, you know, bombarded with the Wahhabism. That may be a blessing in disguise. Maybe starting from scratch is good, right? That may be, you know, where we start this thing all over again in the United States, you know, uncompromising about our creed and not, you know, putting the most important issue, which is the proper belief in Allah, without sweeping that under the rug. No, we start from scratch, building community where that issue is the foundation of where we start from, and everything else, you know, comes on after that. So, you know, this may be a blessing in disguise. You know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did say ajaban li amri mu'min, strange or amazing is the affair of the believer. Everything for him is good, and this is only for the believer. If something good happens to him, he's thankful for Allah, so therefore that's good for him. If something bad or adverse happens to him, he's patient, so therefore that's good for him. So maybe this crazy situation we're in, where we're going backwards, may be good for the believer. It's something bad. It looks bad outwardly, but if we're patient and we do what we need to do, it may be something real good for us. Maybe it's a good thing that, these communities are disintegrating and ceasing to exist along with their bad beliefs and all of that kind of stuff. Maybe that's good. Maybe we need to start from scratch with the proper belief, and we have all this knowledge of what we did right and what we did wrong in the past to build on. So this may be a good thing.
May I add to that? May I build on in the cipher, man?
Do the mathematics, back man. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. I think one of the things that we fail to do is to keep our self-identity. Instead of looking in ways to fit in, look in a way that you can stand out in the midst of, getting with other people, meshing with other people, because that's what makes our communities great. When you're in a community, you got that brother that's, the one thing he knows it all. You got that brother that's militant. You got the comedian. You got the one that talks a lot. You got the one you can't depend on. You got the critic. You got the one who's going to work. You got the one who ain't going to say nothing. You got the one that you're going to see every Ramadan. All of this makes up the components of a community. Find out what your niche is and, offer it to the community. If you can invite sisters over for tea, do that. Or if you can't invite them to your house, provide the tea, you know what I'm saying? Or anything that you can do to offer. A lot of times we just got to be the change that we want to see. And sometimes it just involves being ourselves. We should all know the personalities of each other when we're involved in the community. There's the sister, that you could depend on. Then there's the sister that all y'all talk about. And the same way with brothers. The brother come, oh man, here come this brother. You gotta cut him off because he's gonna start talking, a mile a minute. Then the other ones, they're gonna start talking about sports. Then the other one, they want to know the ruling. Then the other one, they just want your time. Then the other one, they got something, it's something pressing, that they could have hit you up during the week, but now Jummah comes, you got to stop what you're doing, and all that kind of stuff. So you just play your part, whatever your specialty is, because Allah did give you one, and we all got to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us all special talents. We just got to use them, even if it's just a smile. You got, there's brothers in the Masjid that is known for smiling. Man, that brother always smiling. That sister's always smiling. Or being known for charity, or being known for giving out clothes, or being known as a resource. Whatever it is that you have, bring that to the community and just maintain your identity so people know what to expect from you. You know what I mean? So that's my take on it, inshallah. That's where you start.
I wanna jump on this one. Here he comes. Right. Said that's deep, though. Just talking about starting and building. Y'all got to tell us how y'all did it. Help us. Number one, honestly, if you want to make a change, you got to realize something's wrong first. You're never going to change when you don't realize that something's wrong. So the first step to change is realize we have a problem. Once you realize you have a problem, right, you got to start finding your deficiencies, right? When am I lacking? What do we need to come past this problem, right? Then you got to look around and see who has the resources to fill in those gaps. And you have to work together, right? So that's all we're doing here. We came together, we saw the problem, we recognized there's a problem, We saw what we need. We came together, put our hands together, and start building. And you got to have commitment. I always say to you, Jahid to Shahid. Imam al-Haddad mentioned it. Jahid to Shahid, right? The part of work is indispensable for change. You got to be willing to work. You can't keep making excuses. And a lot of us are afraid to carry the load because we're afraid to fail. I saw a movie. What was that movie? Remember they was putting on the president mask? Remember they was robbing banks and they had the president's mask, Patrick Swayze? They was jumping off planes and stuff. Y'all remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember, but I was thinking Dead Presidents, the black movie. This is the Blackie Man's Roundtable. That's a white man's movie, man.
Yeah, but there's a deep line in that movie, man. All movies got good lines to be a good movie.
That's true.
Right? Well, anyway, Breaking Point. Is that the movie? Breaking Point. My wife said Breaking Point is Breaking Point. And if you don't like it, that's the new name of the movie. It's Breaking Point. My wife said it's Breaking Point. That's it. I'm not going to take your word over hers. Breaking Point. Right?
She must be cooking some good dinner. Can I get a plate?
Right? Well, one day, I think that was Patrick's, one of them, when they was going to hit a bank, Patrick Swayze said, I think that was him who said it. He said, never fear, because fear leads to hesitation, and hesitation will make your worst fear come true. Y'all remember that line? That was like my favorite movie line. Never fear. Fear leads to hesitation, and hesitation will make your worst fear come true. That's true in general, right? So they was going in the bank, said, don't be scared, because if you hesitate, we're going to get caught or we're going to get killed. So go in and do the work. That's how we got to feel with dawah, right? Don't let nobody tell us you're not qualified. You don't have the skill set. You're not up to the task. All right, guess what? I'm going to become qualified. I'm going to acquire the skill set, and I'm going to be up to the task. Right? And people will tell us that you're not qualified. Right? No. I got to do what I have to do. So for all of us, and I'm saying this, especially to our young people, don't be afraid. And realize success comes from Allah. وَمَا تَوْفِيقِ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Right? Your success, your ability to do the acts of goodness comes from Allah. Don't be afraid. Right? Them butterflies you got in your stomach, overcome them. And realize that your effort today is going to help generations to come. Right? The same people who did great things before you were just like you. They were nervous. They were unsure. They didn't know what it was going to be like. But they worked. They kept going. They kept pushing. They kept making efforts. That's what you got to do. All of us, these three imams, all of us at one moment didn't have people following us, didn't have people learning with us, were struggling to give da'wah, doing whatever we could do, working however we could work, jobs, doing whatever we had to do it. We weren't always Imam Faheem, Imam Naeem, Imam Amin. And we always won the famous black imams. Now, that wasn't always the case, right? We kept working. We kept working. We kept working. We continue to work. And slowly by slowly, we're getting results, right? And just keep in your mind, as they say in hip hop or in music or entertainment, it takes 20 years to become an overnight success. You got to put it in, right? And stop making excuses. I say all the time, I am not qualified to do what I'm doing. I'm no sheikh, I'm no scholar, but I'm determined, right? I'm no sheikh, I'm no scholar. Arabic is a mess. Quranic memorization is shot. Behavior is in the basement. But guess what? I'm determined. I'm determined. And that's how I look at it. Yeah, with all that, I'm going to still do the job. Right? I'm going to still do the job. All the strikes against us, we still do the job. That's the spirit of our forefathers. That's the spirit of every black man and woman who have came out of struggle in our history. That's their spirit. No matter what, I'm going to still get it done. Right? That's the spirit of all these single black mothers around the country who get it done day in and day out, raise their children without help sometimes. They have a certain spirit. And some single black fathers, we are a resilient people. And if that is how we were in Jahiliyyah, how should we be in Islam? In our times of ignorance, we were resilient people. We found a way, right? We could take the smallest amount of money and turn it into an empire.
Or a substance.
I was going there, man, but I was just trying to stay away from that.
Man, an 8-ball, man. We turn the 8-ball to an empire, man.
I'm telling you, right? I got to share this since we're talking ghetto talk. There was this guy in my neighborhood, right? He get high, right? So, and he supported his habit by hustling, right? This joker would take a 20 and turn it into a half a key in about 2 or 3 days. All right, everybody might not know what that means, right? So you know what kind of hustler this guy is, right? To do that, boom, 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 he be in the projects, all getting it, morning to night. 2 days later, he rolling. And then a week later, he back to the bottom. But the guy was a hustler. He was a bad dude, man. We saw him do it over and over and over again, right? And I've seen a lot of people like that. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Them dudes who just women and men. So that spirit is us. Just use it for the right stuff. Use it for the right stuff. Them young boys out there, they find a way to make it. Just do it for the right stuff. That's it. It's the same spirit. Transferable skills. You was a good crook, be a good Muslim. Just don't be a crook. The same skills you took, the same energy, the same mindset that you took to do all that other nonsense, use it for Islam. That's it. Use it to build instead of destroy. But it's the same spirit. Right? The best of you in ignorance will be the best of you in Islam when you learn. That's how you do it. And step by step. Don't expect it's going to happen overnight. There you go. I want to put this woman on the street.
You take one part of this and 4 parts of this, you put it together, you know what I'm saying? You heat it up, and then boom.
There it is. A dude from the hood is a pharmacist. This woman right here, I put her on the board. I know she told me don't to. I did it anyway because I got control, right? This sister Aisha Hall Muhammad, she's the essence of what I just said. She does miracles in the masjid. Over 65, and she is one. I would take her over 10 men.
That's the sister that be running the kitchen when we come?
Yes, Aisha.
I know. Allahu Akbar. Abdullah.
That's the one that keep that love bubbling in that kitchen, man.
Right. From morning to night, soldier. Right? You know, just saw 300, that movie. Say, Imam, you watch a lot of movies.
What all these movies? How you get to Scattered Thoughts, Post Fajr, you know, Post Asa? You know we're about to do Post Zohar, Post Maghrib, and Post Isha. How you get all that in there and watch all these movies?
They was in the past. I just remember movies. It's not like they're in the past. But 300, these are all old movies you can get, right? You remember 300? That was like them Romans fighting, right? It was 300 of them. They fought, and then they went to this town, right? And they had their little army. And they was going, they said, what are you? He's like, I'm a carpenter. What are you? I'm a baker. What are you? And then they asked him about this 300. And they said to the guy, he said, what are you? Soldier. What are you? Soldier. What are you? Soldier. That's Aisha. Soldier. Soldier, right? And I watch her day in and day out get it done. No excuses, no crying, aches, pains, elder, get it done. Like, right? Soldier. So if Miriam, you ask me how to do it, get in contact with this woman, Aisha Hall, she'll show you. She's a soldier. She's a soldier. But soldiers don't look like what you think. Soldiers are just soldiers. So if you got some costume you want, you don't want to see a soldier, right? The soldier is not in the form always what it looks like. All right, soldier. She's like, Imam, I don't believe you did that. Soldier. But I'm telling you, I'd take that woman over 10 men any day. But she was a soldier in the streets, a soldier in the past. Always a soldier. In the neighborhood, a soldier. Anything going around, a soldier. Right? May Allah reward her. Because if you want to ask me, that's a woman. Past retirement age. And she's more diligent than any man I know on the ground. That's a soldier. After that's real. That's a soldier. So we need soldiers like that. I got you. So now you either come on live or I keep doing this. No, that's me. I'm done.
I want to go back a little.
I'm going to go pray real quick, inshallah.
All right. I'm not sure. I think this might have been, I'm not sure who asked this question. Imam Faheem put it in the private chat. Imams, did you all feel the shift of brotherhood, sisterhood before the Wahhabi movement started? How was the feeling of Islam for you all before and after the shift took place? I remember when it exploded onto the East Coast, I was, still living in my hometown of New York City. And my masjid was Masjid al-Taqwa in Brooklyn. And I remember when the Wahhabi thing exploded and East Orange, New Jersey was exploding and stuff like that. What I witnessed is brothers, who, were just Muslim. I think it's safe to say that most, if not all of us, were default Wahhabi. We just didn't know it. But, but when the thing exploded onto the scene, right? I seen brothers in that same masjid. We would pray together and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of like just drove away. Certain types of brothers were inclined to that, and so the relationships became strained. They start going to other masjids and refuting the masjid that they used to be at and stuff like that. And it's kind of like side eyeing people, and it was just so to answer your question, yes, it definitely strained the brotherhood when it happened. Like, it drew the line in the sand. And so, and New York is not as dogmatic with it as Philly is. But just living in New York at that time, I remember, brothers that at one time were praying the same masjid and sometimes still did, it wasn't the same no more. It wasn't the same love anymore. Certain brothers wasn't eating together no more. Certain brothers wouldn't even initiate the salams together anymore. Sometimes even arguments would start, like, Assalamu alaikum. You're like, yo, I just gave you the salams. You're not going to return it? Oh, yeah, well, that type of stuff. So it definitely drew a line in the sand. So from my perspective, when it exploded onto the scene, that's what I remember from it. And what I also remember is that when people got infected by that Wahhabi disease, like, those of you who go back and familiar with Masjid Taqwa in Brooklyn, used to be a restaurant right next door to it, Shamim's, and that was like the hangout. And so a lot of times, even if you didn't go to Masjid Taqwa, a lot of times that's where you would go eat. And so a lot of times everybody from all over Brooklyn would come there and eat. And if you were a person that was known to have a little bit of knowledge, right, they wouldn't mess with you. Like, you would come in there and, they wouldn't really have too much to say to you. But if you sitting in a restaurant and you look kind of like green behind the, behind the ear, wet behind the ears, or they feel like maybe your knowledge is a little weak, they'll, inject themselves into your conversation and, engage you and say, basically, this is why, we over here at this masjid now, the haqq is being taught there. We used to come here, but we don't really come here like that anymore, right? The real knowledge is being taught over here. You need to come. We connected with the scholars. You come over there, such and such and such and such. And a lot of people got caught up like that. And so, I witnessed the division and the change right there in real time, personally myself. So, once again, to answer that question, I definitely felt the shift in brotherhood. And, Masjid Taqwa, that's Imam Suraj Wahaj. At that time, he was like the biggest Imam, in the country. And I used to travel with him a lot. And so I knew a lot of brothers and sisters up and down the East Coast. And I even remember with some of them, like there was experiencing that in their cities. Like, when it hit their city, brothers that was cool no more wasn't cool no more. And then they would be talking like, yo, what happened, brother such that used to always be here? He ain't with us no more, man. He with that other stuff, man. So it literally divided people. But prior to that time, I can't speak about no place else in the country, but on the East Coast, prior to that time, if you was Muslim and you travel, you felt like you had an extended family, you could just drop in from nowhere. You could drop in Baltimore somewhere on your way down south to North Carolina or whatever. And this is before Google and MapQuest and all that and Waze. And this is when, you had to pull out the map, the physical map. And you look in the phone book, find a masjid, or if you already knew about the masjid, you just pop in the masjid. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Yeah, and I'm just going to visit my family. I'm from New York, whatever. I heard there's a masjid here, so we came here. But it was all love. You're like, yeah, alhamdulillah, yeah, prayers at this time. How long you traveling? You need some sleep? Spend the night if you want. It was love all up and down the East Coast. Wahhabi stuff, stop that. All that went out the window. So this is what I remember before and after, the Wahhabiyya came and all of that, to answer your question. So it definitely affected the brotherhood.
Yeah. I accepted Islam when I was in prison, so there was a remarkable brotherhood there, even though looking back now, we were default Wahhabis. But there was no doctrine involved, you know what I'm saying? Like with detail. But there was a brotherhood there that was so remarkable, man, that I've only seen glimpses of it, you know, and I've been out of jail over 20 years, you know. So, but, you know, it was just remarkable, the brotherhood that we had there. And you had glimpses of it before that Wahhabi movement came into place, where, you know, it went from, like Imam Naeem was describing, you saw Muslim gave salams, you know, it was like, you know, that meant everything. And then it came to, you know, okay, where you from, what masjid you go to, then, you know, discussion about different personalities. If you mention a certain personality, oh, that person is a deviant, he's an innovator, his manhaj is suspect, we got to call overseas to the scholars about his affairs and all this nonsense, you know, don't read these books, you know, this person, he's a Jahmi, and he's this, and he's a Ikhwani, and this person is a Sufi, and this person is Ashuri, and this is deviance, and all this, you know, and all this stuff, you know, all of this shaitanic whisperings started driving wedges between people, you know what I mean? Otherwise, that these wouldn't even have been discussions, you know what I mean? And you know, one of our local imams said, you know, these people, he called them agent provocateurs, man, you know, that they probably were paid, you know, and some to do exactly what they did, to cause wedges between Muslims, you know, to cause rifts between families and stuff like that. So after that, you know, it was up, you know, after the movement started to take off, you know, then you started to see, you know, if people were really stand up people, or were they their regular selves, or did they just, you know, went for the okie doke, you know? And there were some who were just who they were no matter what, and they were stand up people, and they still around today. There were some that went for the okie doke, and then they got played when they followed, you know, the movement all the way. Then they got, the deeper they went in, the more they got suckered, and then they couldn't get out. And then the ego told them, like, you know, I'm just gonna stay right here and take all this abuse, and I know it's wrong, and I'm witness it, but I'm too scared to say something because I feel like I'm not worthy or I'm not knowledgeable enough. But their common sense told them, man, this stuff ain't right. You know what I'm saying? And then there are people who just wasn't strong enough to, you know, weather the storm. And these are the people that, you know, now we concentrate. But, you know, but they still have some sincerity about their Islam, and they're looking for the stuff that used to be kind of default brotherhood, you know, before this movement came, where it was just, if you were a Muslim was a Muslim was a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, just meeting a Muslim, especially if a person had, you know, back then he had the heart to dress like a Muslim, because that was something, you know, that you didn't really see. I mean, the only time, you know, back in the day, I remember before I was Muslim, I used to see the Ansar people. They were the only one that was openly dressing like Muslim. I mean, wearing white gowns and stuff, like looking, you know, holy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had a sense of holiness with those people. You know what I mean? And then, you know, and going through the movements, having exposure to the Nation of Islam, you know, it reminded you of, like, you know, it was an Islamic version of a Black Baptist church. You know what I'm saying? Or a so-called Islamic, you know. And then, you know, then the Wahhabis came, and, you know, they had all these books, and people were speaking Arabic, and, you know, I mean, niggas that you knew from the street, like, man, this nigga know Arabic? Wow, you know what I'm saying? That's how this, you know what I mean? Then it's like you felt some hope, and then do you start seeing what happened? You know what I mean? And then, but the brotherhood, I would say that after the shift, the genuine brotherhood, you know, that didn't have any kind of pretension with it remained, but a lot of us got lost, you know. So that's some of the stuff that we're trying to revive now. And, you know, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. I mean,
you know, one of the things I wanted to say is that what I hope that we're doing, I hope we're achieving it, is to let us be us while still striving to try our best to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And strike that balance, right? So when we have to learn and teach, we learn, we teach, we study. When we have to engage, we put on the hat that's necessary for engagement, right? When we have to relate, we put on the hat that works to relating, right? That we're dimensional, multi-dimensional. We can do more than one thing. We're not parrots, we're not robots, we're human beings, right? And a lot of times I do things to break that robot mode, right? Imam Amin, what are you doing? You're supposed to be a sheikh. I'm not a sheikh. Now, how about that? Right? Because what I want to get us to is where if somebody goes out on a limb and they don't die, others will follow, right? You got to prove it works first, right? So it's like a risk, but it works, you know, because my old stopping grounds, when I was Blackistani, they like, what is he doing? Sheikh Amin. Hey, man, I could do this too, and I could do that too, and I can come sit in you, and I can act like I'm, you know, I could do the same thing. I could do that, and I could do this. And I need to do that when that's necessary, and this when this is necessary.
Your wife said yesterday. It's like when my kids, the young ones, they're like 8, 9 years old. Yeah, when I was little.
No, but we need that. We need to break the mold. If we're going to be leaders, we need to, I'm talking about like as people, if we're going to be leaders in the world, we got to set our own tone, man. We got to dance to our own drum. And we got to find our beat within the Quran and the Sunnah, within Islam, within Ahl Sunnah. So there comes an important point that we have to learn so that we can navigate the territory. We know the limits, right? We know I'm going too far, but I'm not over the cliff. That's from learning. And that's why we need Ahl Sunnah, we need our Aqidah, Ash'ari, Maturidi, we need our fiqh, Hanafi or Maliki or Shafi or Hanbali. We need a tasawwuf because we black. We can get out of hand, so we need our tasawwuf, right? But we need to be able to navigate with all that to still live in the world we live in, right? And that's important. That's what I would like from us. And I would like us to have a platform where we can be us, right? And others will accept us and respect us for who we are, which is extremely important, right? And that way, because we accept them how they are, even when they're horrible towards us, we accept them, right? So now you accept me, right? This is who I am, right? And it works. That's important. And once we get there, we're going to have, because we've subconsciously believed that we cannot be good Muslims if we be black, right? And black, it means something to us, even if they don't know what it means to no one else. To us, we know what I mean when I say we can be black. All of us know what that means. Even if we don't express it, right? Even when we don't express it or, can express what we mean by that, our norm is understood, right? And we got to live that norm, right? We got to live that norm and it's acceptable. And we got to shove it down everybody else's throat, right? Just like they shoved their culture down our throat, we got to reverse it to stop the onslaught. So we're on live and you will hear us talk the way we talk and somebody says, Astaghfirullah, Aki, you can't do that. Did you tell him Astaghfirullah, he can't do that? No. All right, don't tell me. Get out of my face. Right? Like, no, seriously. I think we need that spirit. And I'm not saying do haram. I'm just saying, hey, be culturally bold, whatever it is. And then learn our deen where we don't got to feel inferior. So we're going to learn the knowledge, right? What we got to do.
We gotta be like them brothers that really don't know Arabic too good, and when somebody tell them Astaghfirullah, no, you Astaghfirullah. Talk about my culture, Astaghfirullah, no, you Astaghfirullah to you.
And it's cool for us to have our own way of speaking. That's fine, as long as we understand it, right? So you tell me to make sure all my words are right, but you show me one Arab whose all his words is right. It's a mess, right? Right? But you ain't bothering him, right? They don't even bother trying to learn Arabic properly, right? It ain't even a discussion. This is how we talk, and that's how it's going down. Sloppy, broken, a mess, but that's how it's going down. But now let us mess something up. Brother, you don't speak properly. Neither do you. What are you talking about? Rasulullah didn't talk with that broken, messed up Arabic you got. He didn't talk like that, nor did the Sahaba, right? None of them talk like that. So what you talking about? What you saying? You know that EPMD? What you saying?
and black slang is another language altogether anyway. So we just speak another language.
Saying? You gotta get it righty, man. So what you saying, not what you saying. So what you saying.
Yeah, right. Say it again. How it go?
So what you saying.
All right. So what you saying. All right.
Putting heads to bed, straight out the box.
The headbangers. The headbangers. We're just making sure we're all in the same.
Imam, I gotta get ready to roll, man. What
we broke. How you gonna load? We ain't got no money.
Okay. We putting it to the crowd. We can't roll, as we said, until we get our money.
What we got so far?
Hey, Secretary of Treasury, do we have any money? Are we poor again? Black folks love a cheap show. Right?
We're gonna mention
Old
another
karate
movie.
flicks on Saturday morning.
We're gonna mention another movie, Crush Groove. You remember Crush Groove?
Don't go there.
When they beat Russ up when he borrowed the money from dude. And this is gonna happen every day.
Money.
Yeah, this is gonna happen every day till the black imams get their money.
Where's the money at? Oh, wait a minute, hold up. We don't hide telling people how much money we got. Oh, you adding it up. All right, wait a minute. Hey, listen, seriously, I got a project. We give me ask y'all for some money. I got a real project, right? It's coming later. We need to build some more teachers. Like, come on, guys. All right, this one person, come on, close this 500. That's the minimum we got to have every month, every week. So one person can just close that real quick. Come on, so we can get out of here. Or we're going to be here to 10 o'clock. No, seriously, we can't be listen, in the Ansars, you get beat up for that. Boy, the whooping you're going to get for that, oh my goodness. Right? Let me tell you a story. Y'all like stories? This story is worth at least $300, right? So I told you in the Ansars, we used to have to make like $100 a day, right? So you make the $100, you got by 9 o'clock at night, you can turn it in if you made it, and you got to be in by 12. No matter what money you got, by 12, you got to be back in the Ansar community, right? So, you know, the good hustlers, they know how to move. You know, it's New York. You know, we know how to move. We do what we got to do, right? You know what that means to black folks, right? We do what we got to do. We're doing 144,000 black. We got to do what we got to do. That's how it's going down, right? All right, we got the 5. So, right. So you get, so the money's comes in. So every Friday morning, right? This is in Brooklyn, right? So we had, you know, you've been to the mosque in Brooklyn? Naeem? Imam?
I drove by it.
You was
not
that
when it was active.
Right? We had a place called the Hall of Knowledge, right? It's beautiful. I mean, if you should see that what the Ansars did, I'm talking about all black people, we did some stuff, right? Was misguided in doctrine, but we did some building, right? So we had a place called the Hall of Knowledge, state of the art, nice, right? So we on Friday morning before Jumu'ah, they would bring all the brothers and they would say, okay, now who made money? So they had two sides of the hall, the money makers and the bums. Whoever made their quota on one side, and the other side, all the bums who didn't make their money, right? And it would be in front of the whole community, the women, the children, everybody watching. So it's going to be a roast job if you didn't make your money, because then you got to take your bum butt up there and explain why you don't got that $700 in the week, right? Right? And anyone who's been in the mosque will tell you this. This is how it goes, especially in New York, because New York was the center. So we had this old kid, this old dude's like Trinidad, and his name was Hood. And us young brothers, we loved him because Hood was like an old head, always made his money, been down for years, right? And he lived on top of us. So it's like them brownstones, like 4 floors up, and it'd be like 6, 7, sometimes 8 brothers in one room on a different floor. So you got a building, maybe 20 or 30 brothers in that joint, right? So now Hood was always a money maker, right? He always made his 100, always, right? So the dudes who stood all day guard, they don't go out and pedal. They were the bums who couldn't make their money, so they made them stand all day guard from 9 in the morning to 9 at night. So then you had, it was like a little club. Some bum dudes can't make no bread, put them on all day guard as a punishment. But also they end up being on the beat up crew for people who don't make no money. Right? So Hood one day, so they jealous, because every Friday people getting clowned, and Hood one day missed his quota. One day. Just one day. He made the money up the next. And they ran down on Hood for the one day he missed quota. They beat him from like the 4th floor down to the basement, to the ground floor. And we was swollen, like we wanted to get him. We was in a cult though, so we're not gonna go against the leader, right? But we wanted to get them dudes for doing that to Hood. My point about the story is, right? Some of us, because we was angry, because Hood was our old head, we like, nah, we're gonna fight back, right? And I remember the conversation about that. They was like, listen, he missed his quota. Look at the soldier mindset. It's crazy, but he missed his quota. And you shouldn't have missed his quota, right? And that was the thing that slowed us down from taking revenge, right? He missed his quota. He shouldn't have missed his quota. That's what we got to save the 144,000. That was the mindset. He missed his quota, right? So what's the moral of the story? You miss your quota. I'm telling you, keep missing your quota. You got a $500 quota. You miss it, it's going down.
You're going to get beef from here to Instagram.
So, but you know something? Look, you notice that whooping, look. We start talking about that whooping, you see the figures change. A nice old-fashioned whooping will change people's mind. So.
Yeah, but we missed the $500 quota for a few weeks there, didn't we?
We ain't established the beatdown. That was you in Shabbat. You get a break. So the first 90 days in the mosque, you ain't gonna get beat up for missing quota. After that 90 days, you're gonna get whooped. So you got 90 days to learn how to make quota.
Hey, yo, looking at these comments, they're like, where the brothers at? Because the Secretary Treasurer General is letting people know that it's the sisters that's coming through.
Well, you know, that's a problem with our communities. Our women are always the backbones of our community. Our men are slouches. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, not every single man, but the majority of our men are slouches.
The sisters is clowning. Now we see why you got problem with the 5K dowry.
No, seriously. That's in our, and we need to honor our women. We do. Our women are soldiers, man. They are, and there's a lot of social stuff that makes our men like they are. You know, there's a plan to this, but nevertheless, the women, man, they tough. Sometimes too tough. Don't even know how to be women sometimes. Excuse me.
Yeah, Imam, I gotta get ready to go.
All right, Imam, we appreciate you. We're gonna call it quits for the night. Tomorrow morning, don't forget. Tomorrow morning we continue with the hadith of the slave girl, and we're going to take it to another level. So please join us I'll probably start around 6:15.
And the date threw me off because I was watching it and it said the 21st, and I thought I was watching a recording.
Nah, I screwed the dates up.
Okay.
Because I messed. Remember the other day I went over on the scattered thoughts and I messed everything up.
Okay. That's
when the men try to get involved and screw everything up. Don't follow instructions. You know, that's me. All right, Imam, you want to close us out?
Imam Naeem.
I thought you were talking to Imam Faheem.
I was.
No, I'm talking to you.
I just want to say publicly, I love these two guys with all my heart.
Likewise, man.
They have.
Alhamdulillah, the same.
They have shown me personally that we still got real good, sincere, trustworthy, loyal, dedicated brothers, and don't give up. And I appreciate that myself. They have shown like we ain't a lost cause. We still can win, right? So I appreciate and I salute you, brothers. Sheikhuna Faheem, Imam of the Boomba.
Okay, alhamdulillah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity to gather tonight. We hope there was some benefit. We hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put this on our scale of good deeds and He will continue to allow us to do this work to serve our people for His sake. Amin. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to decrease us in every good. Amin. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Al-Fatiha.
Thank y'all for all y'all help and support. May Allah reward you all. Barakallahu bikum.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.